Good news for motorists. The fuel prices will drop by a huge margin this Wednesday. Both grades of petrol will drop by R2.06 a litre and diesel by around R2.66 a litre. Illuminating paraffin prices will also go down by R1.93 a litre. For reaction to this, we are joined by economist Professor Bonke Dumisa. Good morning, Professor. Thanks for joining me. Tell me, what does this petrol price decrease mean for consumers and businesses?
They mean a lot for the South African consumers and the South African business. And I want to assure your consumers, that is your listeners and audience, that this is not a fixed thing. It was not done by government to try and please them at the beginning of the year. What has happened was the international Brent crude oil prices went down significantly in December. In fact, at one stage, for more than 10 consecutive business days, the Brent crude oil price was trading at less than $80 per barrel. So, and the rand also improved significantly in December. So when the average price of international Brent crude oil price is lower, and when the rand is stronger, then the petrol and diesel prices go down. So we are really happy about this, and consumers will be happy for many reasons. You must remember that there are many trade unions who are busy saying that they want to have double-digit salary increases because of the rising cost of living in South Africa. And many businesses were equally affected. So as we have seen the price of diesel going down for 2 consecutive months now, what that means is that we are going to see the consumers as the end users and many businesses benefiting from that, because their cost of transporting goods to the consumers are going to go down significantly. Because when you look at the diesel price increases over the past 2 months, they've decreased by over 3 rands now. If you take this R2.69 and the 1 rand something in November, it's good for the economy because it's going to cut down the inflation rate, which is sitting badly at 7.4%. The more of this we see, then it may actually help us to see less of the repo rate increases, which have been really mostly attributed to imported inflation. So let us pray that the international Brent crude oil prices continue decreasing, and at the same time, we also hope that the rand will continue to strengthen. And looking at the indicators for this year, it is likely that the rand may continue being resilient, but I cannot guarantee about the international Brent crude oil prices because OPEC members are eager to see it going back up above the $100 per barrel levels.
Now, you've mentioned about the rand resilience, and we'll get there in just a moment. But let's just speak about the impact that the decreased fuel will have on the prices of food and other goods.
As I was saying, most of our goods and food are transported through the road infrastructure. And most of those trucks use diesel. So if ever diesel prices go down, then it means the cost of doing business for those trucks which deliver diesel will go down, and they will pass that one over to their clients. And when they pass it over to their clients, it means, especially for things like food prices go up and down. So if ever the cost of doing business for those food sellers go down, it means the consumers will benefit from that. Let me give you an example. At one stage, at the height of the fuel price increases and the Russian invasion of Ukraine, we saw the price of of cooking oil going up to about 140 rands per 2-liter container. It is back below 90 rands per 2-liter container. The same thing with different food products. They are beginning to go down, even though the food inflation is still much higher than the average inflation rate in South Africa. So the consumers will definitely benefit.
So you mentioned the rand's resilience already. Where do you see the rand going for the rest of the new year?
For me, as long as it remains below the 17 rands 50 to the US dollar, I'll be comfortable. I mean, on Friday, it was at 16 rands 96 against the US dollar. That is marvelous, but we don't expect it to remain there. One thing we don't want to see is what we saw at one stage this past year, when the rand against the US dollar went above 18 rands to the US dollar. We don't want to see that again, because that triggers what I was referring to as the imported inflation. So long as the rand is below 17 rands 50 against the US dollar, I'll be very comfortable, especially because the rand has improved significantly against the UK pound sterling, because the UK and the European Union are our major trading partners. So if the rand weakens against those, it means the cost of doing business in South Africa goes up and the inflation goes up. We want this inflation back within the 3 to 6% target inflation rate range by the South African Reserve Bank.
Now, I know you can't give us any guarantee with regards to oil prices, but do you see them continuing this downward trend, or do you think that it's going to go up again?
It is going to go up again. In fact, over the last week, that already started increasing somehow significantly above the US dollar, US $80 per barrel levels. But so long as it remains far lower than US dollar 90 per barrel, I'll be comfortable. So we may see some price increases in the short term, but not as much as we saw during 2022, which was affected by the Russian invasion of Ukraine.
Thank you so much for sharing that with us, Professor. Let's hope that more good news for consumers follows for the rest of the new year. That was economist Professor Bonke Dumisa.